Welcome to Transgurus again. Today we are the four gurus, and we've got a new theme. The theme is, I think it's a very, really up-to-date theme, which is called adapting to an ever-changing world. Well, it is an update theme, but it is kind of eternal because the world is always changing. So who wants to go first? Jimmy, do you want to go first?
Sure. So adapting to an ever-changing world, and boy, it sure is. And I think how I look at this, so we have to let's look at the human species. We are creatures of habit. We develop, whether consciously or not, routines. You get up the same time, you brush your teeth the same way, you eat your breakfast the same way, but as we develop these habits and these routines for a world that was, when we initiated these habits and routines, time passes and then the world is not the same, but our behavior is. So the humans, not only are we habitual creatures, but we are also very adaptive, and that's part of our survival. Why we've survived, and the humans aren't extinct, or at least yet. And so our ability to adapt, we have to keep that in the forefront of our mind. Any adaptation of behavior or to our environment or surroundings is done consciously. So one of the things that happen when we get into a routine, we kind of get like on autopilot. And you drive to work the same way, and you don't even see the stuff that's around you. You're just kind of like on autopilot. So there's ways to shake up our adaptive abilities. Maybe take a different road to work, sleep in a different room in your house, eat at a different restaurant, go to a different gym, do things differently, and that keeps our mind engaged. And as our world changes, we also have to change. And just in my own journey as a transgender person, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, or even 5 years ago or so, folks would look at me and maybe couldn't figure out what was happening. But now, as the world is evolving spiritually and just more, I think people are more open just to be recognized as a transgender person. I haven't had to explain myself in recent memory, because my appearance, my behavior, and my presentation to the world speaks for itself. So, adapting to an ever-changing world, just be aware. Try to, even if you go to the same restaurant, maybe sit in a different chair. And I've said that before in previous videos. Shake it up, do things differently, and then that'll cause your mind to be more aware, more in the moment, more in real time, and try to resist that that autopilot that kind of happens when we just do things redundant. That's the same thing when I go to the gym. I use different exercises and change my workouts using different machines and different exercises, so that I'm not falling into that mindless trap of just being on autopilot. And I'm sure I can add some things later, but Ella, back to you.
You're absolutely right. But routines are very important for everybody because, it gives you a sense of knowing where you are. It is very important, but, they always have to be adapted because, well, it's an ever-changing world. Hey, you want to say something, Raji?
Sure. So creatures of habit, like Shannon was saying, it's so true. We are. We human beings are very much creatures of habit, and I think there's a necessity and a need for that in order for there to be structure and things to get done, goals to be set, et cetera, et cetera. But if you look at us as a human race, we've literally gone from the caves to computers. And within the last 100 years, 150, 100 years, we human beings have gone warp speed. I mean, like the technology is just it's exploded, and we've just gone like warp speed. I mean, compared to like the age of the planet and how long we human beings have been here on the planet. So I say all of that to say that ever changing world. I mean, we human beings are like a great example of that from the beginning of time here on the planet up till this point, and even in our own lives. I mean, I remember growing up, there was just a one house phone. Now we walk around with these computers in our hands, and so I've witnessed so much change, but for me personally in my life, I think this last year with COVID really solidified for me the ever changing world that we live in, that life isn't really a destination, it's a journey. And at any given time, the things that we have attachments to, um, whether titles and situations and material things, at any given time that can change. Last spring, I was lined up to do three prides. When I say do three prides, I was going to be like one of the personalities at the prides. Three of them. COVID came and they were all canceled, along with other things that I had scheduled. And that's I would say, like, you know, a simple example of how we really have to be able to be flexible. And I love when Shannon said about going to a restaurant. Okay, so you love this restaurant, you go all the time, and you usually sit at a particular table. And that whole thing of shaking it up, go to another table, because maybe you'll be able to, because you're sitting in a different position, you see the restaurant and you experience the moments there in a different way. Something as simple as shaking it up that way, change. For me, this last year, especially, and all through my life, I've been aware of it, but like it really became so profound for me this last year that I just continue to remind myself that I'm on a journey. There is no destination, even after our death. I mean, energy never dies; it just changes form. So I'll be somewhere in the existence, and
Nirvana.
yeah. What did you say?
Nirvana.
If I'm right, but yeah, I'll be. But what I'm saying is, I'll be existing, but not in this form with all of these circumstances and material things. I'll be here in some way, here meaning in existence, but it'll be changed. It'll be a whole different experience. And so, even after death, and so a lot of times I think we as human beings, we get caught up in like, when I get this, I'm going to be happy, or if I can get this, it'll change everything. Or you're putting expectations. Now it's great to set goals and to achieve and work hard and put your focus in for the things that you desire. But what I'm trying to say is, be be able to go with the flow more and not be so attached to to the circumstances and the outcomes, because the universe is miraculous. And a lot of times, the way we think something's going to manifest or something's going to happen, we limit ourselves. We limit ourselves. So just be open. And I'm working on myself to be better at that and to just enjoy the moment and enjoy the journey in this moment, because really we don't have anything but now. Yet my yesterday is gone. My tomorrow hasn't come yet. All I have is this moment sitting here talking to you and sharing what I feel about this topic. Ella?
You have wonderful words, Rajan.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, you touched a point which is for me very, very interesting. It's the syndrome of actually attaining a goal. Many years ago, I was listening to someone very, very special called Roger Federer. And Roger Federer was telling that all his life, he wanted to achieve something, and that was to win Wimbledon, which was for him the highest mountain. And he was told that when he finally won Wimbledon, he was sad like hell. Why? Because all these years he has been working for this goal, and he achieved it. And there was, for him, he had to reset new goals. And that really shows, the journey of life. It's a never-ending story. It's a never-ending part. When you achieve a goal, well, you're ready for the next. Bonnie, your turn. Come on, girl.
Well, in an ever-changing world, I'm just going to give you an example. And I'm not saying that this is true. I'm just saying this is my perspective. Now, I'm going to do another concert for a municipality. Okay. I met with the mayor, all the parks, recreation, all these different people. Now, like I said, this is my perspective and not necessarily theirs, but in a changing time, because in the 80s when I transitioned, I didn't really want, I don't want to be noticed as trans now any more than I ever wanted to. But the point I'm getting at is that I would maybe years ago have tried to kept it hush hush in situations. But when I met with the city and I met with the mayor and I met with Parks and Recreation, and I met with all these people, my opinion, they want to do work with me, a transgender, because now as a city and municipality, they can say, oh yeah, we're LGBTQ friendly. Our concerts are put on by a transgender woman. I mean, what I'm saying is, now that may not be how they feel. That might be my perspective. But when I go in there, I feel good about me. And when I go in there, I projected feeling good about myself. Now, that might just be in my head, and they're sitting there saying, wow, this freak. But anyway, the other side they might be saying is, well, this is really good for us. It makes us look good as a city because we are friendly and we're doing out and reaching out and we're actually doing stuff with people. So when you're talking about an ever-changing world, my ever-changing world is years ago, the transgender may have been not a negative, but not necessarily a positive that got me the job. Whereas in 2021, I didn't get the job because I was transgender. I got the job because I did a really good job and they know what I'm doing and put on a lot of shows and they know who I am. But the part about being transgender and going in there and talking to all these people and feeling really good Why not? It might all be in my own head, but who cares? I went in there and I was just me. And I was accepted very, very well. Now, everything's going through, and all the people that I've dealt with, and everything's going through, and the bands and people that I'm dealing with, and everybody is being really good to me. And what I'm saying is, in an ever-changing world, the acceptance of transgender now is not looked upon as a negative, whereas years ago, oh, you're trans. No, I'm sorry, we're not interested. What, I mean, there's a million questions that they can ask, whatever. Whereas now it's you're transgender. Oh, that's nice. I'm glad, hello. And you move on. So in an ever-changing world, I personally feel more acceptance from the people that I'm around, as opposed to maybe feeling turmoil inside. I'm meeting with mayors, I'm meeting with all these important people, all these people, and I've had meetings with all these guys, and it's like, oh my God, I'm having a good time. Nobody seems to be bothered, and it goes back to the old thing. If I like me, you can like me. And if I don't like me, how do I expect you to like me? So I go in there feeling really good in a changing world that transgender now is not something that, what is transgender? Is that like a he, she? Is that like that? I mean, what I'm saying is years ago, nobody really knew. Now today, it's okay, you're transgender. Okay, you're gay. Okay, you're this. It's not a big deal. It's a way of life. And so for me, my experience, to answer that, in an ever-changing world, I went from having to feel like a burden to prove myself, whereas now I just feel like really good. That's all.
I'm glad you feel good. And I know, because I've been with you a couple of times, and I mean, the way that people respect you, it's so beautiful. It's really beautiful. Bonnie, I mean, it's absolutely great.
Do they say hi, Bon Bon?
No.
But not far away from that. And
they call me other things, but not. They haven't watched my videos to know. But a lot of my friends, straight friends, whatever, do call me Bon Bon, because apparently they must watch these videos.
And
That's cool.
I wonder where they got that from. No, but what I was going to say, and I just want to say something in response to Bonnie, is we don't even have to go back 10, 20 years. Even within the last 5 years, me, being transgender has become a lot more easier. When I say easier, like me maneuvering throughout society and going out and about in the world, it's just not as not as much tension as
you're a superstar out there in all the organizations you belong, whereas 20 years ago you were just a freak. Today you're a superstar. When you go in all these organizations, people embrace you, people love you, people show you respect. I've been out with you before, and people go, oh, you're Raji. I mean, everybody knows Raji. The point I'm getting at is, in today's changing times, you're like a celebrity. I mean, whereas years ago you would have been
like
anything but a celebrity.
Circus freak.
Yeah, been there. Done that.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, adapting to an ever-changing world, I could write a book. Well, that's not quite true. I already wrote one, and it is being published. It's since now 4 years it was published. Probably only for the first time of my life, for the first
3 books.
My 50 years. Yeah, but my first book is about my autobiography, and it is about my changes in life, because believe me, I had many, many, many changes. Country, everything. But probably the biggest one was my transition. And that is my second book. And probably my third book or my fourth book to follow, because my third book is not about myself. Yes, we are always changing. The world is changing. Different countries are changing. Everything is changing. I have to say that I do agree with Raji that COVID-19 has brought an acceleration to so many changes. Wow, it's crazy. Probably some people felt more than others. I certainly did. I'm certainly am in the middle of that change. In my business and everything, there has been many changes. We'll see, and we are looking forward for the next steps because, I mean, for me personally, before the pandemic, I was traveling every second week. I was visiting customers all over the world. I have not taken a plane since March 2020, over 1 year, which is for me kind of incredible. The work, I don't go, customers don't want to see me. It's too dangerous because of COVID. Okay, now it's changing in America, but thank God, but it's still to many countries, we cannot even travel. Now we do Zooms. The work is through
Just
Zoom,
for the record,
which
I
is
think
not so bad, which is not so bad.
next week might be live with all of us.
Yeah, but I mean, for business, we do Zoom these days. I really hope that traveling, go and see customers, being present. Hey, I haven't done an exhibition. I used to make about 10 exhibitions per year. I have not been in an exhibition with 1.5 years. And there is none planned on the horizon. On the horizon.
So are you an exhibitionist?
I know I am. Okay, on the other side, I've been giving more time to transgroups. But it's really, I mean, it is, for me, COVID-19 has been really a very, very big change. And we'll see what the next steps will bring. But
I just wanted to say, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ella.
you know,
Oh, well, what I was going
okay.
to say is about like, you set a goal, you reach it, and then what do you do next? You set another goal. And it's like, but also being willing to reinvent yourself too. And that's what you had to kind of do this year, Ella.
Yeah, in Portuguese we say, translated, that we make our goals and God remakes them the way He wants.
Oh.
And that is true as well, and we always have to be adapting to whatever changing world, meaning that if something changes, if something changes in your food, you have to put the food somewhere else. You have to adapt. That's why I created my third company last year, because I was trying to adapt to a new thing. But I mean, you make all the goals, all the planning, everything that you want. And let's say 80% of the time, if your goals are not completely crazy, you'll get to them. But never forget the factor, which is God can change everything in the second. And you have to adapt for that too. And I think the whole world just found out about that recently very strongly anyway. So. I mean, you cannot tell anything else. But, keeping positive is very important. Being active, trying to understand where you're going. That is how you master it. And you know what? Every time it's an opportunity. Every time it's an opportunity. Because, what is the goal? I don't think there is a goal. There is just journey. As Jimmy said, it's the journey which is the goal. And there are all a hell of a lot of small goals in between, but it's the journey. You
Could
guys,
I add something?
please do. Jimmy, always welcome.
Oh, okay, so here we're talking about adapting to an ever-changing world. What 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 influences the world to change? I think it's people. I think that the reason we are all experiencing, I think the reason more transgender people are experiencing harmony in our society is that it is the influence of the human spirit that has a profound impact
On that.
on the world itself. So the world isn't changing by itself. You know, it may spin on its axis by itself and go around the sun and all that. But what there's energy, there's influence that perpetuates change in the world. And that energy and that influence comes from people, just like you and me and many, many others. Collectively, we all have a tremendous influence on the change that we're seeing in the world. And I know in my life, when I meet somebody or when I come in contact with people, I know that that's one more person that has a favorable opinion of transgender people. And so we come in contact with people, and then that person will tell, hey, you know, the tree person was at my house today, and she's a transgender girl, and like she's gonna trim our trees, and it just like spreads like wildfire. So, and you think about the trans community, the LGBT community as a whole, we've had a profound influence on the world and its change, and that's how I like to look at it. It's like I I think that the human soul, the human spirit, has tremendous influence on future events. Tremendous, tremendous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we've done since the beginning of of people, it's tremendous. But I agree with you. But right now we're having a pro transgender area, thank God. It was not always the case. But it has been changing all over because we always existed, you know.
Yeah. Shannon, you really hit a chord with me or touched a chord with me because I was speaking for the Yes Institute, which is a great organization in Miami. They do a gender workshop. And so different venues, high schools, libraries, college, and university classrooms. And this was all the way back in the early 2000s, like 1999, 2000s. And I would go to these venues and talk about being transgender. Well, what they would do, they would do like a film presentation for about 20 minutes explaining about gender and all the different like binary, non-binary, and all of that. And then afterwards, I go up and I share my story as a trans person. And in those days, people were very, it was almost like walls, like I'd walk in and like, they'd have their walls up. But a lot of times what I saw, which was so miraculous to me, is after sharing my story, the walls you'd see, like they'd literally go down. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. And when I was doing that, I always told myself, you know what? This is like a little seed that I'm planting. Like, if like there's 50 people here, and let's say I touched half of them, that's 25. They're going to go home, I can almost bet, and tell someone else. And, like you were talking about how it grows and it manifests. And so I think a lot of us, through our will and our hopes and dreams and our hard work and our efforts has really helped to, bring us to these better days.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. And we have to protect ourselves in the future too, because I think that is a very important part. For, because I mean, we transgender people have ever always existed. It's nothing new. It's just that lately society speaks about them. For many years, transgender people were put into prisons or into places for the mentally ill, and we are not mentally ill. So okay.
Maybe I am a little bit.
Well,
as there's crickets, right? I'm not saying anything. Hey, you
I
got
like
a
I
little
like that
crazy in this
transgender
crazy
shirt
world.
though.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah,
Got to be a little crazy in this crazy world, you know. So
absolutely. It's not called craziness. It's called color.
thank you.
Called
Yeah.
color. Yeah. Anyway, anything else to add? If not,
I think we ought to wrap it up.
we're going to thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Keep on looking at our Facebook page and our YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. We need more subscribers. And have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Love, love, love.